Hello again. As I'm sure that viewers know by now, Tommy Robinson has left the country, refusing to attend the High Court this morning in connection with the supposed case of contempt of court. The entire case, details of which are probably familiar to us all, has been engineered by a charity called Hope Not Hate. I thought I would talk a little about this strange organisation because, although many people have heard of it, few people seem to know how it began or anything at all about it. In the mid 1970s, a magazine called Searchlight was set up by a couple of Jewish guys. I mention this because Searchlight has always been more concerned with fascism and anti Semitism than it has with racial prejudice against black people. It's something which has caused irritation to some other anti-racist groups. They're old-fashioned and out of sync with the modern world, and they were from the beginning. The founders of the magazine behaved as though they were radicals fighting against Oswald Mosley and the British Union of Fascists. We had the impression that they were about to nip off to Spain and join the International Brigade or something. 20 years ago, a splinter group of Searchlight set up a project called Hope Not Hate. They too tended to behave as though it were the 1930s and that fascism and anti Semitism were the main menace with which they had to contend. The title of this group was cunningly chosen. It's a bit like the pro life movement, which is opposed to abortion. It's rather tricky declaring yourself opposed to a group which is pro life, unless, of course, you are pro death or anti life, and who would be thought of in those terms. So it is with Hope Not Hate. Which of us can say that he prefers hate to hope? Very neatly done. Eventually, Hope Not Hate split from Searchlight and became wholly independent as a registered charity. They tapped into a fashion which was just becoming apparent 20 years ago, which was the idea that those opposed to immigration must hate immigrants, or those who have reservations about Islam must hate Muslims, and so on. We all know what a big thing hate speech and hate crime are now. But 20 years ago, the idea was just taking off. And so Hope Not Hate found themselves surfing the zeitgeist. They've made quite a decent living one way and another out of the concept of hate. It is a very curious thing that in the whole course of my life, I have never heard a single person declare that he hates black people or immigrants or homosexuals. Not once. The whole concept of hatred in this context has been devised and propagated not by fascists and racists, but rather by left wing activists. I've certainly heard people remark that they don't care for Asians, say, or that they dislike working with or living near black people. Such sentiments are no doubt undesirable in a multicultural society, but they fall a long way short of hatred. Similarly, I've known people who didn't have much time for either homosexuals or transvestites. I've never heard anybody say that they hate such people. Perhaps a man will see somebody obviously male in the street who is wearing women's clothes, and he might roll his eyes and mutter "Lord," like that. Or maybe you will hear somebody express the view that gay people get on his nerves and he avoids them if he's able to do so. Again, not an ideal state of affairs, but hardly hatred. Here's a question that has anybody watching this video ever heard anybody say outright that they hate black people or gays? Or is it more the kind of thing I've just mentioned? You see, the whole use of the word hate in connection with sexuality and race is a creation of people like Hope Not Hate, and very profitable it has been too for some of the people in this field. Why do I describe Hope Not Hate as a cult? Something which I've observed about cults whether it's some magic guru or Scientology or whatever, is that they use peculiar language to construct meaningless sentences which sound vaguely mystical. Those who buy into the cult are dazzled by this language, and even though they're quite unable to make head nor tail of it, they feel this just shows that they must themselves be deficient or lacking in understanding. This is where the left wing hate industry scores highly. In the description to this video, I give a link to the Hope Not Hate website. Let me read out uh, what they are all about so that viewers can get a flavour of this. Their core mission statement begins in this way: we leverage the power of hope by creating a platform for ordinary people to do the extraordinary. What on earth do you suppose this means? We leverage hope, and they do this by creating a platform, it seems. Or what about this? With our roots firmly and proudly in the British anti-fascist movement, our approach is always to use a strategic approach, remaining agile and meeting and overcoming threats to this day, continually researching and reassessing the political and extremist landscape we face, ready to meet the challenges we face. It tells us precisely nothing about the group or what they actually do. However, it sounds very forthright, direct and blunt, as left-wing agitprop so often does. Forward with the people, all power to the Soviets, and so on. Strip away the verbiage, and something sinister emerges. We always look to leverage hope, supporting and empowering people to build the stronger, more resilient, inclusive, and hopeful communities they want to be part of, where the power of hope overcomes hate. We work to support powerful and effective local, national, and international political, societal, and economic ecosystems. And we challenge attempts by promoters of hateful ideology to gain public platforms, both online and in real life. This can be summed up as we will do our best to silence those with whom we disagree and try to stop them being able to use the internet. You see, this group makes a lot of being in favour of democracy, but they only want democratic freedom for those with whom they agree. They've done their best to stop anybody being able to hear Tommy Robinson's views and opinions because they disagree with him. This is what is really meant by they will challenge attempts by promoters of hateful ideology to gain public platforms, both online and in real life. Who decides which ideology is hateful? They do. And having done so, they will try to stop people expressing their views on the internet. Far from being in favour of democracy, this is a group who feel that those who disagree with them should be silenced. They are mischief makers, and their organisation is a fashionable left-wing cult of which we should all beware.